Welcome to episode 1 of Gaming News. Just as simple as that, I'm going to try something new on my channel here. I'm not going to have this intro each time, and I'm going to essentially try to cover at least 2 pieces of gaming news, rather than just one, to try and eliminate the amount of time that I upload to my channel, drowning out my channel with just too much content. So, first things first, Marvel's Midnight Suns. The Switch version, adios. It's been axed. No actual reason was given. I'm going to assume that it was console hardware limitations. As always as well, I'm going to have links down below in the description box to credit where I get my news articles from for video games. And I'm also going to have timestamps that jumps from one game to the next in case you don't care about this, but you're curious to see what Phil Spencer had to say about Redfall, for example. So the game is still coming out for PS4 and Xbox One on May the 11th. So that's good news for people on that version of console. So it is sad because I have to admit I was looking forward to Midnight Sun on Switch, but it is what it is. And a day after that is Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom Fall or something. I don't even know the name because everybody keeps calling it Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Because essentially, that's kind of what it is, really. Because it's more or less going to be the same map. Anyhow, let's not get into that. So now you're aware of what's going on with this. Absolutely nothing. Phil Spencer, in an interview, opens up about the critical response to Redfall, stating that he takes full responsibility, this, that, and the other thing, and he doesn't want to push against the creative aspirations of Arcane Austin, the developers of the game of Redfall, because usually their games, when they release them, they're a home run. But Phil Spencer essentially goes on to say that he fully supports the team. They're going to push for optimization, that 60 FPS patch. I mean, I'm playing it on Xbox Series X through Game Pass, and the fact that it's not even 60 FPS by default, or at least doesn't have like on PS5, because that's where I predominantly game, and I'm sure Xbox Series X has this for the same games that have it on PS5, where you can choose between quality and performance mode, right? That's not too unheard of nowadays. And that's where an Xbox Series X2, I'm calling it an X2, don't go Googling it. I'm not starting up shit here, I'm just sharing with you if they make like a Pro, because Xbox Series X Pro sounds dumb. PS5 Pro sounds better. Xbox Series X with their weird naming convention. I mean, I love Phil Spencer, but you're a little bit weird when it comes to your naming conventions of consoles, if he's in fact behind why they're called Xbox One, Xbox, all this stuff, Xbox 360, whatever. That's where it would be nice in the future to have a PS5 Pro, like I was trying to get at, and an Xbox Series X2, where essentially the quality mode would be running at 60 FPS, and then your performance mode would be what used to be performance mode, but now at 120 frames, and I think that would be amazing. That's where we should be. And I don't understand what the excuse is. I love Phil Spencer. Like I said, I think he's a great guy, and I know that he means well. But this really, really bothers me, because time and time again, there's all these games that come out, and I'm going to drop an F-bomb here, and they're an absolute clusterfuck. Unfinished, garbled up shit. And then you got a sleeper hit like Dead Island 2 that comes out with basically, essentially, not that many glitches that I'm aware of, and performed reasonably well. Like, I was really impressed with that game. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I know what you're probably thinking, but on quality mode on PS5 after 34 hours of gameplay, it's quite good. It's doing a lot better than Redfall. Redfall, I can see the potential. I really do, at least for me. I've played now for a good 2-3 hours, enough to get a taste of the game. And again, I still don't understand. If a game isn't finished, there's something in the article here, because the whole point is I try to summarize the articles so that they're not as long. But at this point, we probably could have just read the whole goddamn thing. It's probably a lot shorter, but I'm also trying to make it so it's not plagiarism, and I'm actually using my own words and thoughts here, so I'm not like a GTP AI or whatever the fuck it's called, chat AI, whatever. Time and time again, there needs to be something done about these gaming developers, because sometimes they're not always to blame. Really. They're given a set time, they'll push back as much as they can, and then sometimes there's just so much pressure from, I think that's how it works, the publisher. They're just like, chop chop, Jimmy, it's now or never. And it's like, well, we can always just patch it later, right? But it's not like their intent to do that. Sometimes they're so quick to criticize and say, you know what, the devs are lazy, they didn't try hard enough. I don't think that's always the case. I really don't. And if you have time constraints and the game just has to come out, like in the case of Cyberpunk 2077, look at how much better that game is doing, right? It should have been in the oven cooking a little bit longer, but that clearly wasn't an option. But I still think that something needs to be done. That's why games like Square Enix, which is just one that I can think of off the top of my head, or like a studio like Bethesda or Rockstar, we will hold them to a higher level of accountability simply because they are the publishers / developers. Like, they're publishing and developing their own game, right? So that's kind of a big deal. Whereas in the likes of Redfall, if I'm not mistaken, please, I hope I didn't make a mistake here. If I did, whatever, it happens, I'm human. I think Bethesda published it, but it's Arcane Austin that's the developers. In other words, had Bethesda, you know, developed the game, it may have been in a better state. But then again, we look at Fallout 76, 69, whatever game it is, when it first came out, and I was okay. I'm just saying. So there you have it. I want to end it here. I kind of got into a little bit of a rant here, and that's fine. Again, this is episode 1. Like I said, this is not too much different than what I've been doing for almost 5 years on the channel. The difference is I really want to hunt and peck. Like, what I've been doing is essentially going to, you know, IGN, for example, and looking at the news, and I can pick whatever news I want, and I just go to all news, and then I just kind of go through, you know, the different things, and I'll be like, Kathleen Kennedy wants to eventize Star Wars movies from now on. You know, don't really care about that. Oh, Phil Spencer takes on responsibility for Redfall. Boom, let's talk about that. You know, just anything else that I find might be interesting. Like, I probably wouldn't do something like Chris Pratt reveals he'd reprise Star-Lord of MCU. I want to stick to gaming predominantly, whereas IGN, they actually kind of touch on television, movies, and stuff like that too, right? Anyways, anything else that's gaming related that I might think is interesting, like, oh, Marvel's Midnight Suns officially canceled. I found out about these 2 pieces of gaming news, even though they're already a couple of days old, from manually browsing, and I want to try and have it on my channel, like I said, if at all possible, a minimum of 2 separate pieces of gaming news to kind of help, again, alleviate the amount of time that I upload to my channel. Because sometimes I may have to upload a lot when it comes to new games that are coming out. Again, we've had what? We've had Stranded, Alien Dawn, Age of Wonders, Dead Island 2, Star Wars, like just boom, 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 boom. All these games that are coming out, and each one, sometimes I try to go into great detail in order to give you a good overview of what you're getting yourself into if you decide to buy a certain game, right? So that's kind of like my motivation behind this here. As you can see, there's not much else in here that I would really care to really talk about here. So yeah, so I'm going to end it here. As always, if you like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. It does really help support that channel with the algorithm. And if you didn't like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs down. And as always, we'll bend it in half, twist it. I'll break it off in your ass. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I mean, naturally, that would be great. But if not, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And maybe I'll see some of you in the next one. Bye for now.